Hey everyone, this is Elly Mae with Silhouette Secrets Plus, and I've been having some fun using the Grafix blue stencil film and also the matte stencil film. I am using my Silhouette cutting machine to create stencils. And the one great thing I love about this is that you can create the stencils in any size that you would like. So you can make smaller stencils or larger stencils. In this project, I'm going to be using the Artistry Sublimation inks. They are sublimation products that do not require a printer. Sublimation is really popular right now, and it is very, very cool. What happens is the sublimation ink, you can put this on copy paper. Yes, plain, ordinary copy paper. Sublimation inks can be used, and then when you add high heat and pressure, it turns into a gas and it transfers to a sublimation blank. So I'm going to be sharing that process. I'll show you a little bit about cutting it with the Silhouette Cameo and how I designed this stencil in the Silhouette Studio software, and then we will create the project. In the Silhouette Studio software, I set up my media size for the 9x12 page that is the stencil material, and then I drew a rectangle for the size of the blank that I am using. So the journal cover was about 9.25 by 5.75. I opened the stencil and copied it to my current design mat with my template shape on it. And then I'm going to resize this, and the best part about having a cutting machine is the ability to adjust the size of whatever you're cutting and to modify it to fit what you want it to be on. So I can take this stencil, I can adjust it, and I can rotate it, and I can make it fit into the size of a stencil that I want it to be. So I can make it smaller, or I can make it larger. I can modify it so that it is multiple pieces, which is what I'm doing here. So I am releasing the compound path to break the design apart, and then I'm able to adjust this design. Now, I needed it for a specific size for my specific journal, but I didn't want to cut any of those arrows off. So I simply just enlarged the rectangle to fit the entire width of my stencil design. And then I was able to adjust little pieces of the arrows inside of that design in order to make it so that they did not cut into each other. So you can see here I am adjusting some of the arrows just a little bit so they're not overlapping each other, they're not going to cut into each other, and they're evenly spaced apart. With the stencil design, every single one is going to be different, but with a cutting machine, you have the ability to create your own stencils and to modify them however you would like. I sent this to the Silhouette Cameo 5 to cut, and I cut both the Grafix blue stencil film and the matte stencil film with the Cameo. It cut perfectly, but each one required different cut settings. So there is my first test cut. It did not go through, so I sent it a second time with increased settings. Cut settings will vary depending on your blade life, your machine, and your material that you are cutting. So always test cut first. The larger your stencil and the thicker your materials, the longer it would take to cut completely through. If you do not unload your cutting mat with a Silhouette machine, you can send it again if you need to. There's the finished stencil, and then I'm going to take it with a sheet of copy paper. I am using the Artistry Sublimation inks, and I'm going to tape that down securely to the copy paper so it's not going to move. And then I used a blending brush to first start at the top with some blue ink. And I love this fact because you can start with a small amount of ink, and then you can increase that. You can change it and make it variable. It gives it a unique look. So I'm just holding that stencil in place, trying not to use too much force, or you can move the stencil and you'll get bleeding underneath it. So take your time as you're stenciling, and this can just take practice as well. So this is sped up quite a bit to show you the entire process. And I was working and looking for a gradient effect here. So you can see the very edges of my stencil where the ink was over the edge. I just wanted to make sure that it would fit for my journal cover. And then I'm going to take and cut those edges off. I started with scissors, but really the paper trimmer is the best way to go because it's a straight line. Simple water and a paper towel will clean up that sublimation ink. And then I have a workspace that's completely dry to begin my project. I'm going to take the cover of this sublimation journal and I'm going to secure it with some heat tape. And then I decided after that, I started there, I folded it over the edge. However you want to do it, that is completely up to you. I'm just securing that so it will stay in place as I do the heat press. With sublimation, you want to protect your heat surface of your heat press. So I have a protective layer of protective paper there, the sublimation blank with the print on top, and then another layer of protective paper on that. And once it is finished, sublimation ink turns into a gas, transfers to the sublimation blank, and then I'm going to remove that copy paper. And you have a unique design created with your stencil. So here is an up-close look at this sublimation journal. It is fully around the cover of this journal, and it went together so nice. You can create all kinds of unique projects with this, and there are so many ideas that you can do when you can cut your own stencils. And the best part is that you can wash them and reuse them. Even if some of the inks do not come off, that doesn't matter. You can still use this again and again and again, and it will create fabulous projects. Let us know in the comments below what you would create with a stencil that you could design and cut yourself with the Grafix Blue Stencil Film or the Matte Stencil Film. Whether you use a cutting machine or cut by hand to create your own stencils, I hope this has given you some ideas and inspiration. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.